how's it going?
Hey, howdy, hey.
I just realized something, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think we have to change the thing at the end there.
Yeah, the intro.
3 p.m. Yes. So I might have to change that. I think I can change it.
I think you can, yeah. Just
Yeah, I
stick
think
a
you
massive sticker over the top.
Of course, you could probably do that too.
I mean, I could, but as the one that sets up the streams, the thumbnails and intros, that's your gig.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Plus, my editing software is still on my phone. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You only do it through your phone? You don't do it on your laptop?
No, not yet. Anyway, I've got the one on here that Zach recommended a few shows back. I just haven't had time to play around on it probably yet.
Yeah. It's funny because I'd never heard of that site before. Now, since he talked about it, that's all I've seen. I've seen it everywhere now.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when you go onto Facebook, and if you're on Google and go to a website, for some reason, all of a sudden, there's an ad for that product on Facebook in your timeline.
Hey, Google, you listen to our show?
So that seems a little bit weird. So if I go to like Amazon, all of a sudden I'm seeing an Amazon ad in my timeline, which I think is a little weird, which tells you that Facebook is watching your every move when you go onto the internet. So I got to wonder how secure WhatsApp is now, because I know Facebook owns WhatsApp. So
it's true.
Yes, very true. So, and the only reason I found out about that is because Mike told me, who just entered the room. Hello.
How you doing, Mike?
So, so we got a great show today. Unfortunately, as of last week and this week too, Brandon was unable to be on the show today. We hopefully he has a speedy recovery. We understand he's in the hospital. His fiance messaged me this morning, and hopefully they're keeping him in for observation. So hopefully he's going to do well. Hopefully he'll be out of the hospital sometime, maybe later today or tomorrow. So, hey, you know what? It is what it is. Things happen. I wished him, I told his fiance, I'm hoping the best for him. And but we got to go on with the show. So we were able to find another great guest, and that is Kristi Grissom from, and I will say, and I told her in the green room, I was going to say this, she is the better half of Our Haunted Lives. I'm sure David's going to get a kick out of that. I'm sure I'm going to get a message later on. He goes, dude, like, seriously. No, but they do. And all kidding aside, they do a wonderful job on that show. I was actually even on that show at the beginning of their first season, which was a lot of fun. So we get to learn about Kristi today. Kristi's, there's a lot of things going on with Kristi, but we'll get into that when we bring her on. So Lex, what's been going on with you this week?
Well, I don't know if anyone slept under a rock, but we've had a pretty interesting week since our last video, Brian. We've been Twitter galore. We've had conversations. And, the support for the video has been fantastic. I'd like to say that firsthand. Thank you to everyone who's commented, shared it, whatever. It's been amazing to see that level of support. And whether or not you disagree with any of the points made, I'm glad you got to see it anyway, because, opinion sharing, it's a right. Everyone's got a right to an opinion. So we just shared ours. And I'm very happy that we did it. And, I'm very happy that it was received the way it was, mostly positively. So, but it's been busy. It's been a busy week on that front.
Yeah. Some people weren't happy about it, and that's fine. We're going to move on. Like I said last week, I'm moving on, and from what happened with me, and just moving on. So I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I got a lot of things coming up. My second season is starting. And the first video will be up on July 11th. So we're looking forward to that. I am not going to say what episode it is right now, but that video is coming up. And I know for the people that haven't seen it, the video did go out today on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all those things. But we do have that video. You have that video, right?
Oh, Lex? Of course I've got it.
So let's play that video. This is actually the intro for my second season.
All right, here we go.
It almost felt like I was being stabbed.
I'm excited, dude. That was so well put together.
You know what? Zach did an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to the second season. The first video was supposed to come out next week on July 4th, but we're actually having a composer that's going to be creating music for the season. So he needed another week in order to do that. So this is a good friend of Zach. He creates music. So I'm looking forward to seeing or hearing that. I know he put out a tweet last night that he's very excited that he's coming on board with us to make the videos even more outstanding. Zach already does a wonderful job with them. He tries to make me look good as much as he can, but he definitely says it's a challenge sometimes.
I'll tell you what I'm excited about. I saw the ice from a photo you sent me a while ago, and I'm now looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's that place. That is Blue Ghost Tunnel. That is one of the it's in the top 10 of most haunted places in Canada. So that was a great video, and there's going to be a lot to talk about with that video when you see that video, because a lot of things happened, and unfortunately some things happened to Reckless Adventure, who was with us during that investigation. So definitely looking forward to that. You guys are going to enjoy that video. So we won't talk. We already know what's going on. We already know what's going on this week, so we don't need to talk about that anymore. And it is what it is. And like I said earlier, we're moving on. So anyway, so why don't we bring Kristi up?
Hang on, before we do, I just want to say one thing, because obviously for those who have followed me online would know that it was Parachills' 1 year anniversary the other day on the 25th, and I want to say thank you for everyone who made that possible from my company. We are very happy with that. So I just want to say happy birthday to Parachills on here, and of course, Brian, happy birthday to you for yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
That was yesterday.
Look at that. You turning 21 again, eh?
Yeah, actually it was 39, but that's okay. I'm going with 39. Even though Mike likes to call me an old man, which is fine, but it's all out of fun. But let's bring on Kristi. Kristi was kind enough to take the spot of Brandon today, so we're very, very. I was very, very happy that she was going to be coming on the show today. I was wanting to bring her on sometime down the road, so I'm glad she's coming on today. Kristi's not only a paranormal investigator, but she's also, and I wouldn't think she is, but she's considered a witch. And there's a couple other things I'll let her tell you about. But she's also the better half of Our Haunted Lives. That's on Paraflix, and I believe they're getting close to the end of the second season or going into their third season. But you guys definitely, if you are Paraflix users, you definitely want to go on and watch them. I will say, and they're good friends of mine, and I might be biased here, but I think they have the best talk show on Paraflix. That's my opinion. So let's bring her up. Here's Kristi Grissom.
Hey.
Hey guys.
Hey, Kristi, how are you?
I'm fine. So we're the best talk show, and you know what? You were the best interview.
You know what? You're only saying that because of what I said to you the other day.
Yes, exactly.
So she was on her and David were on a podcast or radio talk show, and I can't remember the guy's name. What's the guy's name again?
Altrusis.
Yes. So he asked David and asked Kristi, who's been their best interview? So I was listening to it. I go, well, of course they're going to say me, and no, neither of them said me. So I called Kristi the next day and I said, listen, that was you guys did an amazing job on that talk show, but there is something that I need to talk to you about. I don't know. I got the feeling she knew what I was going to bring up, but
I was clueless. I didn't even think about it because it's like when I told you, I was like, we did yours so early on, and radio is not my forte. So I was already thrown off. If I can't see people's faces, then and read their movements and their energy and all that stuff, it throws me off. So when he asked that question, I'm like, what the fuck? Who have we had on our show? I literally went into like a shame spiral of I cannot remember. And I just had to say the person's name that we interviewed the night before, which, by the way, was a very, very, very good interview. But I didn't think of you. You were like 3 months ago.
I understand where you're coming from with this. We've done this is episode 21. We've had 18 guests, I think, and I probably couldn't pull them out.
Right.
Straight away.
Yeah.
But you do have the prettiest smile.
Well, thanks. That was nice. But all kidding aside, it was just it was great. It was great hearing you guys on the radio. And I'm telling you this much, David, his voice.
Oh, it's radio all the way.
It's radio all the way. And I know he was on the radio. I think he was on the radio at one time, or he went to school for it or something like that.
I think it's broadcasting, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
He's his voice is, well, first of all, he's a very large man. I think, what is he, like 6'7", 6'8"?
Well, all I know is I have to do that. And
he's 270.
Yeah.
So he's a very, very large man. And if you need protection, David is definitely the direction to go to if you need protection in some way.
I've got a story that will counter that one.
Yes, I know. And I know the story you're going to tell if you tell that story. So, yeah, that's funny. But why don't we get right into this? We know you. I know you, on a pretty good level. And you do a lot of different things. You're a paranormal investigator, first and foremost.
Yes.
I believe you're also a medium.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're also a witch, which I think is really, really interesting. But you're not a practicing witch, are you?
I've been solo practitioner for 7-8 years. It's been something that has always been around me, and I didn't really recognize it until as of late, when my abilities really started coming out. But I do practice, I do rituals, I do spell casting, not very often because it uses so much energy, and I got too many people coming up to me saying, hey, can you cast a spell on my husband to fall in love with me? No, I can't.
Lord. If you have to go to somebody and ask them to cast a spell on your own husband to love you, there's a problem there in that relationship.
Yeah. So it's I don't practice as much as I used to because I've got so much other stuff going on. But I still live as I conduct my day as I would as an eclectic witch.
Yeah. So go ahead and you can start, Lex. I'll let you start there. Oh, yeah. I'll let you start. You just start. I'll let you start. Why do I always say that? Go ahead.
I don't know, but I'm so submissive. I'm just happy to take it, Brian. I will.
Oh my God.
I will.
No comment.
take that as you will.
You know what? I've actually had people say that, and they go, Brian, why do you say, okay, go ahead, Lex, your turn, or why do you say that stuff? Well, the reason I say that is so there's no real dead air there, and there's an awkwardness.
Yeah. So there's no second guessing who's going to ask the first question. We did that in the early shows, and it was so weird.
Okay, so Lex, go right ahead.
Oh, see, thank you. Oh, even better. I'm being spoiled today. So I want to start with because I don't really do it. Well, I mean, I do a show, I do this show, but in terms of what my passion is, it's obviously paranormal investigating. So I want to start with these questions. And first and foremost, I want to find out tell me about your latest investigation or anything that's coming up.
The last one was Tracy City, Tennessee, last weekend. I'm a crew member with Ghost Hunt Weekends. They travel all over the United States doing big locations. I love doing that, but it's not like I could really, really get to investigate because I'm leading a group of people that have paid to come, and usually novice or people that can't pay to get into the really, really big things on their own. Yeah. But we got a lot of good evidence. It was interesting. I've been there twice now. The first time was horrible. This time was really, really good. But that was in Tracy City, Tennessee.
What do you mean by horrible? I don't know if I'm allowed to dig here. I don't know what.
This doesn't happen very often, but I have had throughout the years 2 things come home with me, and Tracy City was one of them. That something did come home with me, and it took me 2 weeks to get rid of it, and it was nasty.
Blimey.
Yeah. So I was apprehensive about going back, and I finally went back this past week, and it had been a year. So
can you talk a little bit about when you say it was bad and it took you a while to get rid of it, what was it doing? Was it doing anything or?
Yes, it would. Of course, it would infiltrate my dreams, causing the nightmares. I would wake up and there'd be a black mass right next to my bed, eye level. Couldn't really see a face, but you could see the outline of it. There'd be times where you could feel hands moving up my legs onto my thighs. It was horrible. I tried everything that I knew how to do, being a witch, and other things that I try, and it didn't work. I ended up having to call in my high priestess to get it gone.
Yeah, you know it's pretty serious when you have to bring in a priest. Yeah. Like I've only heard that happen once to somebody that I know, and it was bad. But you're at your last wit's end when you're bringing in a priest, because everything else.
I felt like I can't get rid of this myself, because normally I can. And I knew better. I took something from the location, and of course I was a guest at the first time there. The second time I was crew, but I had been drinking, and something told me, Kristi, stick your hand in that hole. There's something in there that needs to go home with you. So I did. Pulled it out. It was a red rock. It was inside these caves. They were called coke caves, where the miners. Unfortunately, it was back when people. Okay, well, I'm just going to say they would throw the African American people in there and kill them because they didn't want them on their mining team or whatever. So there was a lot of death that happened in these caves, and I was walking back to camp, and my girlfriends were like, "Who were you talking to?" I said, "I wasn't talking to anybody." They're like, "Yes, you were." I said, "I was by myself." And they're like, "You were talking to a man." That should have been clue number 1 right there for me. But
if you were ever going to find an angry entity with a place like that kind of history, there is no surprise that something wanted to kick back. But I'm glad you managed to shift that off and managed to go back.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. That's that's really scary. That's scary, and what people don't understand, and when they're in this business, that you are going to come up against that in some, maybe in your paranormal investigations, but a lot of people don't know how to handle it, you know.
It
And
doesn't happen often. I mean, especially
no.
that extreme, it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. So I know you're a medium, but when you go into paranormal investigations, if you had to grab a piece of equipment, what would be your favorite piece of equipment that you'd want to use?
other than myself,
Yes.
And the camera.
And the camera. Yes. Don't go the camera route. A lot of people go the camera route.
Right. I actually love doing a thing called the Estes method. I absolutely love it. Now of course the headphones, and then the SB7 or the Xbox or the S box or whatever you want to use. I love doing that.
I do as well.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, and it's not always safe. You don't need to be on it for too long, but with me being able to communicate, and if I open up enough, I get really, really good responses with that. It's like things line up to try to communicate when I do that. So that's always a good thing that I like to try.
Would you say, like, because obviously I do this method quite a lot, I always do it like the normal spirit box session, then I always go and do that method as well to compare. Do you always find that even if you're not getting anything, just the feeling of that's all you can hear is the box and you can't see anything? Do you always feel like your skin starts to feel funny, like you're just on edge constantly because you know what you're doing? It's such an intense feeling for me.
Yeah, especially if you're blindfolded, because I like to take away as many senses as I can to get as pure evidence as I can.
Yeah.
So the blindfolds, you always feel like, and plus in the back of your mind, you know that somebody's eventually going to come up and say, "Hey, time, you need to go, to get up." But if you're truly in it and you're spiraling down, I lose every sense of everything around me, and all I hear is that right there in my ears, or I'll get visions in my head, and I'll spit out the visions as well, because a lot of times that's how things communicate with me.
So I've never really had the vision side. I've get like flash imagery. So, but I always put that down to maybe my brain's listening to what I'm saying out loud, or what I'm listening. My brain's taking in what I'm hearing and I'm projecting. And then I don't know if my brain just like makes me think of the image, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. But it's hard to differentiate sometimes. It really is. But
would you recommend doing it to people that don't use this method?
I would recommend it only if they understand exactly what they're doing, because they're channeling. You're channeling spirits, and it is dangerous, and it sucks your energy. And I mean, I think it's fun, but if somebody's going to try it for the first time, they need to have somebody around them that does know how to work it. And I wouldn't advise staying on more than 5 or 10 minutes. Now, that's my opinion. But it can be pretty cool.
I think I would listen to you because of all your extensive background. I would definitely listen to you, and I hope people that are watching now or watch the replays understand how serious this really is at times. And I think sometimes people go out there and it's fun and games, but really at the end of the day, it's not. It's not at all. So, yeah, there you go. Lex, is it you or me? I think it's you.
Me. It's me.
Yes.
I was actually going to ask Brian, am I allowed to go? Am I allowed to ask? Is it my turn? Just waiting for my cue, dude. I'm waiting for my cue.
Your turn.
So every investigator who's been on more than one investigation, maybe a fair few, they always have that one place they always remember that's been their favorite one. Obviously, this changes the longer you do it, because you always get a better one at some point. So during your stint of doing this, your long career of doing this, what's been your favorite ever place you've investigated, and why?
There's two, really. And I know this one's going to sound like everybody says this one, but I had so much happen to me, was the Conjuring house. And I know people go there and things don't happen. That was not the case with me. I had tons of shit happen. And I will admit, live on air, that was the first time that I walked away from doing my solo and went downstairs with everybody else. I didn't tell them why. I didn't admit it at the time, but I'm like, I am not going back upstairs. And I didn't without anybody else. And that's not like me. So that was, I'd like to go back there too. That and St. Albans are great.
What's that house actually like? I've watched a lot of YouTubers do it. Or I say a lot, like 3 or 4, I think I've watched do it. Some of them legit, some of them not. So it's quite hard for me to put a handle on it. Now, the Conjuring stuff as a whole is one of my favorite things in the world at the moment, as well as Ed and Lorraine Warren's history anyway. Like, I've always read up on their files, anything I could dig up online. I think they kind of inspired me to want to do this, whether or not you believe in them or not. I do. So, but there was a lot of inspiration there. So the Conjuring House is always one that I've wanted to do.
Right.
And I know there's one in the UK. I know that we've got one in London that the second film is based on. Second film there. So, and I'm trying to remember, I went out of order with these films, but yeah. So there's one in London that I really want to do, but I think someone lives in it, so not sure if I'm going to be able to. I'm going to speak to them. So I was want to know, like, what does it feel like to be in that house where something as scary actually happened?
Well, honestly, when I first walked in, I was like, I wasn't really getting anything. I was like, okay, this is gonna be a dud, and because I can usually sense something, but looking back, I think they were maybe hiding. I wasn't picking up anything. Either that, or I just wasn't opened up enough, which happens sometimes. But as the night progressed and I started venturing off by myself, I guess it was whatever was there was like, all right, I'm going to show you, Kristi. You think nothing's here? Yeah, I'm going to show you. And
maybe that's the trick. Wait until you're comfortable being like, nothing's going to happen. And then, bam.
Right. So.
It's funny. I wonder if there's any truth to that, though, what Lex just said. You got to wonder if there's, like, I know you're just flying off the handle there, Lex, with what you just said, but you got to wonder if there's some truth to that. Like, do you think there is?
Well,
like, you get comfortable and then all of a sudden it just hits you?
Well, okay, if we're talking about human spirits or former humans, they're just like anybody else. So, okay, I'm bored. All right, well, let's go fuck with this person over here. Or, oh, really? You're going to call me out? Well, I'm going to show you. Or let me sharpen my skills tonight. I need to work on, let's see, making the lights flicker. I'm going to work on that tonight. We don't know what they think and how they, but it's infinite possibilities of why things happen the way they do. Or they may have you might be on the same vibe as them, working on the same frequency as them, and it's just a connection that they haven't felt, and for whatever reason they zone in on that one person, and then that experience may never happen again to anybody else except for that one person.
Do you mean like almost like a kindred spirit? Like, let's say someone who feels in spirit world in their living life, they live the same kind of life as you, and they can tell that?
Right. Because it's all energy, all frequency, vibrations, which that's what they're still in the spirit world is energy, So, and we're energy, so it would make sense to me that if there was a connection, maybe they would try to talk to that person more than anybody else. So
interesting.
It's quite poetic, actually. It's a very poetic way of looking at it, and I think I think there's probably some truth to it.
You know what? We're only learning the tip of Kristi right now. She's a lot more deeper than this. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to learn about Kristi, and we're not going to get it in today's show. But I'm learning a lot so far, and it's great. So you talked about the Conjuring House being really scary. What has been one of your scariest places that you've been to? Has it been the Conjuring House?
It'd be a toss-up between Conjuring House and St. Albans. But as far as it's shocking me how I reacted. I guess it would be the Conjuring house. It just, I mean, I tucked tail and hauled ass down the stairs as fast as I could, you know, and then started walking real slow, acting like everything's cool.
Why didn't you tell anyone? Why did you? Was it an embarrassed thing that you didn't want to be beaten that easily, or was it just an inner thing where you felt like you just had to just keep it to yourself?
There may be. Well, I think part of me did want to keep that experience to myself at that time. Plus, I was the special guest for a group, and you know, you don't want to be running down, you know, tail between your legs, like, oh shit, you know, like as a ghost, you know, especially when you're the special guest or whatever. And so I just went down and continued to investigate the basement and the lower level. I didn't go back upstairs.
Wow. Did they not question that? Did they go upstairs later on and then you just like, I'm going to chill down here, guys. I'm cool.
I had been upstairs for 30, 45 minutes by myself. So they're not going to question why I was already up there.
Wow, that's funny. So what I'd like to get into is about your show, Our Haunted Lives on Paraflix. I'd really like to dive into that a little more, or start with that, I guess. But before we do that, what I want you to, if you could, please, because we know David's going to watch this, please tell that embarrassing story. Because I know it.
All right. We were at St. Albans. We were a special guest for a PD Paranormal, a really amazing group. And he had just been upstairs and something had growled at him. So he was already a little bit, you know, shaken up. And while he was up there, I'm snooping around because I'm notorious for like walking away and exploring by myself, you know. And I happened to open a curtain and there was this life-size mannequin, a zombie mannequin sitting like in a barber chair. And the hands are coming out like this, you know. And when you open the curtain, it's not that maybe 2 to 3 foot right in front of you, you know, so it's fairly close. And he comes down those stairs, finished talking about what he heard. And I said, David, I'm picking up on something. And he knows when I say that, you know, there's something. And I'm like, it's right there. There's something back there. And I don't know what it is. And honestly, I'm a little too afraid to look. Will you check it out for me? He opened that thing up. And let me tell you, I've never seen a man that big jump that high and scream like a little girl, and ran out of St. Albans just shaking his hands like this. And I was like, oh, why in the hell did we not get that on camera? Why? Why did we not?
He's probably very thankful it's not.
You know, it's funny. I've heard over the months that I've gotten to know David. Obviously, he's a great guy. He's become a great friend. And I love him to death. And we were supposed to do Paracon together. Unfortunately, that got, for people who don't know, the Paracon was canceled.
Yes, and
it's going to be
upset about that.
Yeah, so am I, because we were going to investigate together, but that's not going to happen now. So, but there's another story about David that I find really funny. And David's a great guy, really is. But he told me a story about how he was doing an investigation and he tripped and got all muddy and
went home because he was sulking. And he's such a big guy, and it's like you wouldn't think that of him, but again, it's just funny. He's just a really, really great guy, and he's been a big supporter of mine, and I know he is with Lex too, and he's just one of those guys that you want on your side. You know what I mean? Exactly. And he's just an amazing person. But so let's get into your. I know a lot of times people say podcast, but you guys aren't doing a podcast. You guys are doing a live stream show on Paraflix. Mm-hmm. And so tell me what it's been like up to this point so far. It's been amazing. It's definitely different, and it's not something that I ever saw myself doing when I first started with the paranormal. Just kind of, I started investigating with David a little bit here and there. Now I was still with Ghost Hunt Weekends and the Wraith Chasers, Chris and Mike from the Wraith Chasers. I was still doing work with all of them, and I was like, well, David, yeah, I'll be more than happy to go and do some investigations, but I didn't want to commit. There was another person with our group, and he is no longer with us. And a little bit after that is when I decided, okay, well, let's give this a go. And he was approached, I believe, by yours truly.
I suggested David because I loved his show and I loved everything he did on his show. So I was the one that told him about Paraflix. He should be going over to Paraflix because they are looking for talk shows.
Right. And he got on the horn with Natalie, and the next thing we know, he signed the contract, and the rest is history. And I love it. I really do. I enjoy doing it. My favorite thing is getting the people for the show. That's like it's a drive for me. It's like, ooh, I'm going to get this person. Let's see, and I'm not afraid to message anybody. I don't care how big, how small, whatever. It's like, what's the big deal? They're either going to say yes or they're going to say no, or they're not going to say anything at all. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah, for sure. And that's it's good to I'll tell you, Lex, it's good to know Kristi because she knows a lot of people. And I would love to have the Wrath Chasers on this show. Right. They're amazing. They're two amazing guys. And I watched the interview with them, with you two, and they just seem like down-to-earth kind of guys and great guys.
Brandon, we can't forget Brandon. That's Christmas' brother, Brandon. He was on Mist Asylum with them when Porter and Doogie were all on the show. And but Mike, Chris, and Brandon, I can't say enough good things about those guys. You talk about genuine investigators, and they've taught me a lot. Definitely taught me a lot. So if you're listening, guys, love you guys.
Hopefully they watch the show and they heard me say that and they say, we want you guys on this show. It's a great show. They're two great guys. Like I said, that interview was amazing. Of course, all of your interviews have been amazing.
Especially yours.
Okay, stop it. So now you're just
his head's gonna swell.
No, it's not at all. She's just being not nice. Just kidding.
Me? Never.
Go ahead, Lex.
So I'm obviously doing a show at the same time. So we've all had different what's the word I'm looking for here? We've all had different resources and stuff to help us do it. What have you found to be your best resource?
Oh goodness! As far as just getting customer or guests, or
the whole thing, could be both. Like which one?
I'm just a big talker. I will get on if I see something that I'm drawn to. I'm messaging. I'm always constantly looking for something new or up and coming. Whether it be a new Paracon or it be just a something for a charity or just running into somebody. In fact, I just ran into somebody the other day that has done paranormal investigating forever. And I'm like, why are you still not doing this? Because he was so intelligent when talking to him about it. And then, but in the very beginning, I guess there were 3 or 4 individuals that I would go to that I was like, okay, I can't figure out how this works. Can you help me? I want to do this. I want to make this happen. Can you help me? And then, of course, Chris and Mike were big helps for me. So I got lucky with getting some pretty good contacts in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's always important, especially when you're trying to bring together I would say I would call it a big project. I mean, you're up on Paraflix, probably getting a decent amount of people watching the show. So I can imagine to have a big project, having the people around to help with that is probably a very important element.
Yeah. So obviously you've had a lot of guests. You've had a lot of guests on your show. So you're close to the end of your second season, right?
Correct.
Yes. So you and David have asked a lot of questions to these guests, and you're finding out a lot of different information about everybody. And so I'm going to throw this question at you, and it's kind of reverse in what you probably ask people or whatever. But what's one question that you love asking people?
Lex, your turn.
She's a ball of fire, isn't she?
I pass.
Well, the thing of it is David and I are like polar opposites. Now, when we go in for an interview, I always do my research. If somebody has a book, I read their book. I try to pull up anything that they have, or if ask people that know them that I know, anything like that. But David is more of the structured part of the talk show. Mine, I just blurt out what comes to my head, because there's sometimes somebody will say something and it's all of a sudden you think, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to ask this question. So a lot of mine are not structured, with the exception of maybe a few things that I have seen on one of their shows or their investigations that either I thought was bullshit, or I didn't agree with, or I absolutely loved, or for whatever reason. But I kind of just, go off the cuff.
Now, I've seen all your episodes on Paraflix, but I will say there was one particular episode that I watched that you did ask a lot of questions, and that was the one with Patty Negri.
Oh, yes.
Because you and her are basically on, I want to say that you guys are on the same level, because you are. You both have amazing gifts, and I know you do a lot of her I guess she holds classes and stuff like that, so you're there for a lot of them. And so I will definitely say that was one show where you did ask a lot of questions, because you can just tell from that particular interview how excited you were to have her on your show.
I was. I mean, she's a witch, and way more advanced than I am. And of course, everybody knows who she is. And David and I had talked about it prior to the show, and there's some interviews that it's more in his wheelhouse, and then others are more in mine. And of course, Patty would have been more in my wheelhouse. Just like when Josh Hurd was on there, they started talking UFO, and I'm like, okay, I mean,
that's hilarious.
I've got a couple things to say about you. I've seen a UFO, or what I perceived it to be. But other than that, no, I don't know what the latest news out on the paper or the whatever. I don't keep up with that. Except apparently something happened yesterday. I was talking with Father Sebastian. It was yesterday or the day before that something came out about a UFO in the news, and the government admitted that was it bogus?
So they basically did a UAP disclosure. The government put out for months telling us they're going to drop all this information. They're going to reveal all. They're going to give us the truth. And they waited to the 18th of July to drop it. And everyone in this community that's into UFOs or UAPs was extremely excited. I got my hopes up for it. I actually put on my calendar. I said this on the Parachill show the other day. I put on my calendar like aliens proved on the 18th. Like this was going to be it. And then the report came out, and you can access it anyway. You can get it online. You can read it, and it literally tells us nothing at all. It is the same. To use your favorite term on the show today, the same bullshit we've been told or explained away. Like even though they're dropping, like when they released the Navy footage of the Tic Tacs and stuff, and we were like, finally they're going to start being a bit more honest. They weren't. They just put out some crap. And
all I have to say about that is my father worked for the Pentagon, and of course back in his younger years, and we were in the living room one night, and there was something on TV talking about UFOs, and I hear him say, "Yeah, we're not alone." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Nothing." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can't say something like that and then not elaborate, you know?" Yeah. And he's like right. And he's like, just think about it. But he had transported papers from Roswell to the Pentagon. And that's about all I know. And that's about all he would say. All he'd say. And this is a very devout Christian Baptist deacon man. Everything has to be science. There's no paranormal. He hates what I do. In fact, he barely talks to me anymore because he thinks it's stupid. But for a man like him to say he believes, that's all the proof I need.
Wow. I was watching a show the other day on Facebook, and I just happened to make a comment on watching the show. Something I don't understand, and the question, and they said the same thing. And like the government, like we all know it exists. So why the big cover up?
Because we can't handle it. There's so many people that can't. There's so many variables to it that there's a lot of mankind that just cannot accept that. I mean, most people don't. A lot of people don't believe in ghosts. They don't believe in, the afterlife. Whether you be atheist or if you believe in reincarnation, you're fine. But it's like a lot of people would freak out, and it would cause mass hysteria, in my opinion. And then it would also probably go against the government. There would be a lot of pissed off people that would want to go and kick the shit out of the government for, withholding information.
I mean, who doesn't want to do that now, to be fair?
Right? I was in the Air Force, and we would go, I was a firefighter. We would go on standbys for missions for various aircraft. And we would go, come back, debriefed. We were never allowed to talk about anything we saw. If we saw something, and even if I did, I'm not going to understand what I'm looking at anyway, so it didn't really matter. But that's back in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and these were top clearance. I refuse to believe it just because of what happened in the military, and then with my father. It's just like, if I can believe in ghosts, fairies, dragons, all that, why not little green men?
See, people ask. Oh, sorry, Brian, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, this is it's interesting about your father being the type of person he is, and then believing in aliens, because I wasn't a believer in them for a long time, because I grew up very, very scientific. I think that's why I like this work, is because it's still an element of science to something that's hard to discover, and it's exciting. But I grew up, I was always good at science. And I was happy and content with, like, I've never answered publicly if I'm religious or not. And it's not a question I'm ever going to answer, but it's, people have asked. And it's like, I used to believe in the fact that what happens to create life like we know it is like a 1 in a billion thing. It's very rare that we exist on a planet. Right. And, if there is, I used to believe that if there was life out there, it was always going to be single-celled and nothing as complex as our ecosystem yet. Because it takes, for 360 million years, I think, for our planet to get to how we've got with our life.
Right.
I can't remember the number exact, but a long time. So a lot of galaxies probably don't have that span, and planets usually die before they can reach it. Like, we've done quite well we've been hit by asteroids, and that's what's actually helped create us. So it's always been really weird for me being in that scientifically driven. I was like, no, if there's ever life, it's single-celled, nothing as complex as us. And then the more and more I've read into this, not the actual sightings, but the size of the cover-up.
Right.
That's what made me. I was like, if it's blatantly not true, there wouldn't be this much evidence.
Why would they go
of a cover-up?
Right. They would go through all this trouble to cover it up. And another thing, because I'm a big historian, you go back throughout history, every culture, and I'm not talking just America, we're talking, Europe, we're talking Mexico, all over the world, there were sightings of things flying in the air before there were even propelled crafts.
I believe there's like ancient paintings, isn't there? Like historical paintings from like the 1600s of aircraft.
Yes, there was people down on the ground, and then you see this little saucer up in the air. I mean, you go back into the Hindu religion. There was so many flying crafts back then, and talking about the gods coming out of them. It's just too coincidental that throughout the past 2,000 years or so, that there are people saying that we were getting information from the sky gods, from the this and that. And then you would see hieroglyphs of things that are apparently in the sky, and it's not a bird. So what else would be up in the freaking sky, over in, the Mayan civilization, 2,000 years ago, other than a bird?
Yeah.
It's funny. I just want to bring up 2 points, especially the one, what you were talking about, mass hysteria. And then there was another point that was brought up into that show that I thought it was an excellent point, which is maybe the case. Now, I think in some ways, and you're right, the mass hysteria and stuff like that, I think what the government has done has been reverse psychology in some ways, making people think that they're going to be panicking. I don't think they trust the civilians enough to realize that we understand that something's going on, and maybe there might be the odd person that might get scared or something like that, and that's fine. But I really truly believe what they've done is they've taught us to be scared if something bad is going to happen. Okay.
But the repercussions of it, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but look what happened at the Capitol with Trump. All he had, all those people just stormed the Capitol, and that could have gotten really, really, really nasty. And that was just over a political thing that, yes, it's a big deal, but I'm sorry, that's not as big as, UFO. Just imagine how many angry people. I wouldn't trust my government anymore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
There was another point somebody said, and I thought it was very interesting, and it made a lot of sense. And it wasn't a big lengthy line that he said. He thinks one of the real reasons why they're covering up is because of religion.
Oh,
well, it does destroy the idea of some religions.
Oh yes. My God. Well, of course. I mean, okay, get me out. Here we go. Well, okay, Catholicism. We all know, and I'm not dissing Catholicism, but we all know that they are notorious for covering up so many things, and
especially in the last decade.
Oh well. Yeah.
Modern day, yeah.
But let's see, since really, the 400 AD, Constantine, everything went over to Christianity. That's when it was really starting to go into Christianity. Paganism was being, and that's, it was the church. The church had everything. They knew everything. And if you did something against the church, that person ended up dead. And I'm telling you, I'm a big historian. So this is like over centuries. But I think the Catholic Church, I think they know the truth. I think it's at the Vatican. And underneath Vatican City, which, by the way, used to be a pagan temple. If people don't know that, they built on top of a pagan temple.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. So, but there's so much information over there that
at the end of the day, we can go on and on about this, but let's steer back to our haunted lives, because we kind of got off the topic there. Yeah, I know you did. I know you did. So let's go ahead and ask your next question.
Well, I'm trying to remember which one you already asked. You did the
when has been the biggest surprise?
You asked that one already.
No, I didn't. That's the next.
That's this one. Okay. Well, seeing as Brian just asked the question, I'm going to do it. I'll dress it up a bit more fancy for you. In the 2 seasons, I believe, coming up to the end of the 2nd season, what's been the biggest surprise you've had on that show?
The biggest surprise, darling, has been a young woman named Voodoo Doll. No. She was absolutely amazing. I wanted to get somebody in there that had been really different than our other guests, and maybe a little controversial, because she does practice blood magic and blood rituals. Wow. And I knew that would be like a sensitive topic, but it's something I thought that would go really well. And it did, and I can't wait for that one to air. So I can't talk too much about it, but she was amazing, and I made a friend, and I'm glad I went with my intuition on that one. So that one, that's great. I wish I could talk more about it, but
we'll have to get you back on after it airs so we can talk.
I'm looking forward to that one. I am, and so we're getting close to the end of the show here. So what question I'm going to ask you is, maybe you can tell the audience something that nobody knows about yourself. I know you've said a lot today, and people are going to learn a lot about you on your show on Paraflix. But if you wanted to share something to somebody, what would that be about yourself?
About myself? Anything?
Yeah, anything. Go for it.
Okay, well, 2 pop to mind. A lot of people don't know that I was actually an opera singer for many years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not never.
It just popped up. See, but I tell you, when things pop in my head, they just come out my mouth. But another thing, I am studying vampirism. I am learning how to do vampire magic, to incorporate that into what I already do. And it is a concept. There are living vampires amongst us out in the world today. A lot of people don't know that. And the misconception about it is that they drink blood. There's very, very, very few that do the sanguine feeding. So, but that's just something that I'm looking into right now, because I'm always curious about a bunch of different things. And so vampirism is something that I haven't really come forward with yet. So
you're gatherer of knowledge. You like to know everything under the umbrella of what we all do, which I think is fantastic. Yeah. So what we can do now is, what I'd like you to do is plug your show. Let everybody know where we know it's on Paraflix, but it's other places too, your podcast, because you do have a podcast.
Yeah, we're not doing as much with the podcast. Of course, that's on Our Haunted Lives YouTube. But of course, Our Haunted Lives is on Paraflix. We are on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got, I was trying to think who's coming up this week. See, I get lost of what's going on. We record and who's coming up next. But yeah, I'd like for everybody to show out for that. It's absolutely wonderful. You can find David and I both on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm not much of a TikToker, but I'm there. But you're going to see some really goofy shit on there. So it's not all paranormal, but definitely come see us at Our Haunted Lives, and also Ghost Hunt Weekends with Chad Morin. If you're somebody that wants to get into investigating and you just don't know where to start, that's a really, really, really good place to start. And then you get to meet some really cool stars from television.
So, and also you got some, I know you're not going to be in Dallas now because Dallas has been canceled, but you got some Paracons coming up too.
Yes, we're going to be at the Warren Paracon up in Connecticut in October. I'm looking into right now, since the Texas was canceled, maybe Michigan Paracon. I'm still looking into that. And then we'll be in Vegas in December for the Paracon there.
I'm so jealous.
Nice.
That is the biggest show.
I've never been, so it's like, yeah, David is going to have his hands full.
Yeah, I spoke to David today about what would be the cost to have a booth at the Las Vegas Paracon there. And
I can't remember what
I was surprised. I was surprised. It's not expensive at all.
I think it was around $200, $250 is what I paid for it.
Yeah, wow.
I think, but that's been a while back, so it wasn't too bad. No.
Yeah. So what we'll get you to do is, when you can, sometime today, send us all your links to me, and I will forward them all to Lex, and he will put them in the description so everybody could go blah blah blah. So everybody can go and see Our Haunted Lives on Paraflix and what else they're doing, and go follow them on social media. They're great people, and obviously I love them to death. And just things like that. We're disappointed because Dallas is now canceled, and we're doing a big collab of an investigation, which is not going to happen. It really sucks.
I was so looking forward to doing some tequila shots with you.
Well, okay. Well, yeah.
Okay,
so
maybe that's what I'm gonna do. I don't.
Yeah. That's probably more likely.
I'm gonna do it.
But again, I want to thank Kristi for being on the show. Thank you so much for filling in for Brandon. We really, really appreciate it. You know I love you, and you know we'll talk soon. And I will let Lex say his goodbyes.
Thank you for letting me, Brian.
Again, I will let Lex say his goodbyes. Like, what the hell's wrong with me?
Do you know what? I've never noticed it until today.
So now, if y'all break up, who's gonna pay alimony?
Oh, I'm younger. He can pay me.
Oh wow! How does that work?
I don't know. Okay. I'm 12 years old. That's how it works.
Yeah, I just did it. I can't believe I just did it. Wow. Yeah.
So I want to say thank you, obviously, for filling in. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and speak to you. I definitely want to speak to you some more at some point, and because I reckon you and me could just talk for hours about anything at this point. Right. So, but I would say, it's been an absolute honor. I have obviously had the pleasure of meeting David before, so it's great to have you on as well. So I've met the both of you, and I'm looking forward to this. Definitely looking forward to this future episode of your show. I'm very interested to see what this, like the blood magic, as you said, is going to. So not a concept I've heard of properly or know a lot about, so it's going to be very interesting for that. And like Brian's already said throughout the show, we highly recommend you go and watch the talk show, because not only is it fun and interesting, but you learn a lot from all the people that you get on there. So, but it has been an honor, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
And by the way, I hope your family's okay. Let us know. Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Right. See you later.
Bye.
Okay.
Oh, there you are, guys. So that was Kristi, as you said, the better half of Our Haunted Lives.
Yeah, I'm not going to live that down. I know I'm not going to live that down.
No, he's definitely going to give you an angry message.
I'm really happy Kristi came on the show today. When I called her, a little bit of a funny story before we let you go. I said to Kristi, I called her because I've been wanting her to come on the show. And eventually it was going to be further down the road, but because of what happened with Brandon today, so I asked her to come on. But what I did was my mistake, and that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. I said, well, I want you to come on, but we need data too. And she goes, what? What, I'm not good enough? No, it was funny. It was one of those things where, like, it's not like I'm saying she wasn't good enough, because she's great and I love everything about her, but it was just like putting my foot in my mouth. No, that's not what I meant, But anyways, no, she was a great guest, and I love her to death, and hopefully one day, well, Paraflix, Dallas Paraflix is going to be on next year, 2022, so it's coming back. And so she's going to be on.
Do you want to tell them to be quiet?
So yeah, so she's going to be. So we're going to be going there next year, and me, David, and Mike, and her will be sharing a booth. So that's what we'll be doing, and then we're going to do that collab of a big investigation. So hopefully we can do that. But it was great to have her on the show today. So I am going to say my goodbyes. We've gone over a little bit, and I'm not going to use what I usually use every week. I don't really have a saying, but I'm just going to say goodbye this time. I'm just going to say goodbye, and I just want people to understand that I've really enjoyed this show up to this point. I've enjoyed working with Lex, and we've had a lot of great guests on the show. And I want to thank people. We hit 100 subscribers this week, which is fabulous, which is great. And I want to thank everybody that's been continuing watching our show and coming in to watch our show when the live is happening. So I want to say thank you to everybody for coming and watching the show every single week. Thank you.
Fantastic. And yeah, what an achievement to hit over 100 subscribers in 21 episodes, 20 episodes, because we hadn't done this one yet. So it's been an incredible feat. It's been an incredible support that you guys have shown us, and we are very grateful for it. Every time we talk about this show, we always want to we want to get the best people on, so you guys get to get a bit more of an interaction with them, get to know your favorite people, but also, you know, be part of our show. You can send us questions and stuff like that if you want to ask us to ask somebody, or, you know, we can see it on the side. It's just the level of support's been great, and we have been doing this just for you guys. You know, we enjoy it as much as anyone, but it is your show. Like, we are here to present it, and we want to make sure you get the best out of it. So thank you for the support. Thank you for coming in, week out to come and see us, despite the fact we were advertising the wrong times on our video clips at the end of the show.
We're gonna fix that. I'll fix that this week.
And you know what? And sticking by us through all of my technical issues in the first 18 episodes. So it's been phenomenal, and I just want to say thank you for that. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you very much, guys. And I could have timed that better with having the ending clip ready, but I didn't. Awkward silence. So, anyway, guys, thank you very much. Take care.